bring in Adam Schefter from the Mothership. Adam will be on ESPN's NFL Live today at 1:30 Eastern, part of both postseason NFL countdown shows on Saturday and Sunday this weekend for the divisional round as we welcome in the Michigan grad, Adam Schefter. Adam, thanks for joining us. Do we have any updates on the jobs that are still open in the NFL?
Dan, we've got Miami and we've got Cincinnati, and neither team seems to be in any kind of rush, which tells you that they're involved and some of the coaches involved in the playoffs still, which is fine. Eric Bieniemy is still out there as the Chiefs offensive coordinator. Brian Flores is still out there as the Patriots defensive coordinator. Zach Taylor is still out there as the Rams quarterbacks coach. Shane Waldron as the Rams passing game coordinator. So there are still some coaches here in the playoffs that these teams have spoken to. I've looked at. Those would be obviously interesting names, although I think they also are drawn to some other names. You've heard the name Todd Monken still in play. You've heard the name Vance Joseph still in play. So we'll see what these last two teams decide to do. But I will say this, Dan, we're 6 hirings in, not one minority head coach yet. There were 5 minority head coaches let go this offseason. The NFL has not added one in its place so far.
More surprising, Kingsbury with the Cardinals or LaFleur with the Packers?
LaFleur with the Packers was more surprising because the Arizona Cardinals coveted Kliff Kingsbury all along. And the only question was whether he was going to be able to get out of his USC commitment, whatever commitment that was or wasn't. And once he was interviewing, he was getting a job. That was the way it was going to be. They were looking for somebody exactly like the guy and coach that Kliff Kingsbury is. Matt LaFleur, when we discussed head coaching candidates, for whatever that's worth, was not discussed as this frontline candidate, which doesn't mean he's not going to be a great head coach or the right guy for the Green Bay Packers. It's just that people weren't expecting him to get it. And I know people are surprised that Kliff Kingsbury got one as a fired head coach of Texas Tech, but here's a guy that had gone out and worked with Johnny Manziel and worked with Patrick Mahomes and worked with some really good quarterbacks, whereas Matt LaFleur, you just didn't hear a whole lot of conversation about. But again, I think it comes back to the Sean McVay effect. Everybody wants the kind of coach that Sean McVay has turned out to be in Los Angeles, and there are defensive coaches around the league that have taken notice about this, that are disillusioned by this. But Matt LaFleur worked out in L.A. He's got a bright young offensive mind, intelligent, and so to me it's a little bit more surprising that he got hired, but I understand the question.
Why aren't we looking for the next Doug Pederson or Frank Reich? Why are we looking for the next Sean McVay?
Well, maybe somebody like Vic Fangio is that. It seems like teams are more hesitant to go get an experienced coach because everybody wants the next best thing and the flavor of the month and whoever's hot and sexy at that particular moment. And sometimes the best coaches are the most seasoned and experienced coaches, guys that haven't been given a chance, guys that have been waiting their life to do it. Doug Peterson's proven that. Frank Reich has proven that. There's nothing wrong with the Andy Reid effect, right? All the guys that he's produced from his tree.
I'm also curious with what's going on with Josh McDaniels, that he took his name out of the running or consideration for a head coaching job. It feels like when he didn't get the Packers job, all of a sudden he wasn't interested in seeking another head coaching job. Is that how this played out?
Then there are 8 jobs, okay, and we could break it down on a case-by-case basis, right? But he's not going to Denver, okay, where they already fired him. Josh isn't going to go take a job in Cincinnati or Arizona. Yeah. No disrespect to those franchises, but coaches that have been out there who have been selective aren't choosing those franchises when they've been as selective as they've been, okay? He's not going to Miami in the division. We're now down, or the Jets for that matter. So we're now down to the Green Bay Packers, the Cleveland Browns, who we didn't interview with, and I'm missing one in this progression of head coaching vacancies. But really the only job that he was in play for through his choice as much as other teams' choices was the Green Bay Packers. They hired somebody. So, of course, he's out of the search.
Yeah.
Right? Josh McDaniels is going to be a head coach. Josh McDaniels is going to be a head coach at some point in time. He just is. And it's not going to be this year. So when he says, I'm taking my name out of the running, or I don't want to be a head coach, well, Tell me where there was going to be a potential match. There wasn't.
Yeah, I was just surprised that he didn't get the Green Bay job with all that experience, and LaFleur comes out.
A lot of people were.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere.
A lot of people were.
What is the general consensus of Kyler Murray's talent level, NFL-wise, and what his future in the NFL is going to be or could be?
Dan, this is going to be one of the great topics leading up to the NFL draft because you're talking about a guy who's listed at, I believe, 5'9", not that there's anything wrong with that. And you have a situation where a guy who has tremendous football ability, who was the most productive high school football player ever to come out of the state of Texas. And that's a long list of players with a lot of great talent. You're talking about Drew Brees and Andrew Luck and Andy Dalton and Nick Foles. Nobody was better than Kyler Murray. And let me say this. I believe he unequivocally loves football more than he loves baseball. 4 years ago to now, everything circles back to his love of football. This year was a test drive to see if he could be great in football against great competition. He proved himself by winning the Heisman that he can play with the best of them. And I think now that he's proven that, I think he wants to take his talents to the next level. And I know he'd have to get back to $4.66 million to the A's, but he's going to go in the draft higher than that and make more money than that. And if he turns out to be the quarterback that some NFL evaluators think he will be, well, his next contract in the NFL quarterback is going to be for $25 million, $30 million, $35 million. So there's more money to be made in football. And more important than that, I think he loves football and wants to be a football player.
But you think he's going to go into the draft and he'd be a first-round pick?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Unequivocally.
Hey, I know that you got a busy day. We appreciate you squeezing some time in for us. Thank you, Adam.
Hey, thank you, Dan. Happy New Year.
You too. Adam Schefter for the Mothership there.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.